Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. And in today's video, we will be continuing with this series on the moon signs in astrology. We have already kicked off this series with the moon in Aries, and there has been an outstanding number of people who wanted me to jump into this moon sign series. So we are going to continue along with this for those of you who have your moon in Taurus. And as I explained in the previous video for the moon in Aries, this is not going to be focused around the Nakshatra that your moon is falling in. We'll talk about it a little bit, but we will have future videos where we will go more in depth about those moon signs. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. So before we get into the moon in Taurus, we have to understand what is the moon in Vedic astrology. The moon is an incredibly important point in Vedic astrology as it is representing the mind. And so the moon is an incredibly important point, similar to how we see certain mental patients or animals or children behaving differently at certain phases of the moon. The moon is representing our actual behavioral patterns because the moon is the inner workings of our mind. It is the psyche. And so the moon is also connected to our intuition, our psychic abilities, our imagination, our way of thinking and feeling. The moon is also connected to our mother. The moon is what gives us security and nourishment. So the moon is connecting back to our mother, our home, our family, and all of the luxuries and security within our lives. Anything that is giving us nourishment or comfort is strongly attached to the moon sign. The moon representing Cancer, which is connected originally to that fourth house of our comforts, our luxury, our conveniences, our home life, our nourishment. And so this is a huge area that the moon is covering. The moon also is going to show different changes. And so this is why the moon is an incredibly reliable point within astrology, because not only are we looking at a person's personality according to their sun, which sticks around for a whole 30 days long, the moon is shifting and changing 2 to 3 days time. And so the moon sign actually gives us a deeper understanding of a person and their personality, because it is showing the changing and fluctuating that is creating all of these patterns and cycles and behaviors within life. The moon sign is also an extremely important point because it is how we are receiving nourishment and comfort, the things that we need, the things that we feel connected to within our lives. And so the moon sign is always going to show us the workings of our mind, our emotions, our thoughts, and all of the different patterns and cycles. Now, we have to also understand that the moon has no enemies. And so when we talk about the moon in different signs, we have to understand the nature that the moon has with the planet that is controlling the sign that is involved. And so it is not just enough to look at it according to the moon sign. Those of you who have your moon in Taurus, you want to look at what house is the moon in? What house does the moon control? So what house is ruled by Cancer? If the moon is not in the sign of Cancer, then look at the house that is being ruled over by Cancer. That is the moon's domain. So all of these factors are important, and of course the nakshatras are also important to look at as well to get a deeper understanding of how this energy is playing out within the zodiac sign. Each zodiac sign has 3 nakshatras, which are giving different behaviors within each of those zodiac signs. So not everyone with a moon in Taurus is going to behave in the same way. We also want to understand what planet is ruling over this moon. And so for those of you who are here watching this video for moon in Taurus, you want to look at where Venus is. What is Venus doing? What is the condition of Venus? Is Venus in a negative placement? Is it in a positive placement? And you also want to look at aspects as well. It is very difficult when Saturn or one of the shadow planets are involved with the moon. This brings challenges and disharmony within the mind and within the comfort or nourishment within a person's life. And so it's important that we're looking at all of these different factors within the chart to get a clear understanding of what this moon is actually doing. Now let's go ahead and talk about the moon in Taurus. So the moon in Taurus is a very favorable position, again, depending upon all of these different variables and factors, of course. But the moon is favorable in the sign of Taurus because the moon actually is behaving as if it is at home in the sign of Taurus. In Vedic astrology, we actually are taught that the moon is Mulatrikon within the sign of Taurus, meaning that it is very strong here in the sign of Taurus. It feels very much at home in this position. This is also the exaltation of the moon as well. And so this is where the moon is reaching its highest potential here within the sign of Taurus. And the reason why this is because Taurus is a sign of hospitality, nourishment, comfort, luxury, security. So Taurus is all about the things that are familiar, the things that we enjoy, that we love, that bring us comfort within our lives. And so this is why the moon is doing very well in the sign of Taurus. It feels very much comfortable and secure in this spot, which of course the moon is looking for that nourishment and security. And so this is a very harmonious spot to have your moon sign positioned in. Now, technically speaking, the moon feels as though Venus is neutral. But once again, this exaltation is overriding that rule, where this is a very powerful position to have your moon sign at. And so what happens here when the moon comes into the sign of Taurus? This gives a very grounded nature. Those who have this position have a very grounded and down-to-earth nature about them. These are people who have very steady and well-grounded minds. This is also a person who was blessed within their early upbringing. Again, you want to look at everything that's going on in the chart before making that assumption. If this is an exalted moon that is being closely aspected by Saturn, that can definitely bring in some challenges or struggles. But for the most part, as a general rule, when the moon is in Taurus, this gives a very comfortable and relaxing upbringing, where this individual is gifted and is given that nourishment and comfort within their lives. This also tends to give an individual who can receive a lot of wealth, a lot of support within their lives. And so you can see a lot of success that can come in through this position, where those who have this position of moon in Taurus can enjoy a lot of comforts and luxuries within their life. This also gives a strong need towards security and comfort, and especially within relationships. Remember that Taurus is ruled by Venus, which is all about love, connection, pleasure, enjoyment. And so this creates someone who's very social, very friendly, who wants some level of nourishment and comfort within their relationships. And so this can extend from friend circles wanting to go out and be social and have fun, to family members wanting that security within the home, to relationships. And so this is a person who has a strong need for that comfort, that security, that nourishment, that caretaking. And this is someone who can give a lot of caretaking towards others as well. So there may be some cooking skills, some artistic skills that can be of use in healing or helping others in some way. There's a very sensual nature about this position of the moon in Taurus. This also can give an individual who is very needy, depending on the placements. Once again, you want to look at everything. If this is a very damaged position of the moon in Taurus, this can give someone who's very needy, someone who's very clingy, who is super attached to the materialistic things in life. But for the most part, this gives a very friendly, hospitable, and gentle manner about an individual. And again, looking at everything in the chart is highly important. This is a very strong position also in terms of family and tradition. Remember that Taurus controls originally that second house within the zodiac, which is all about our family upbringing, our family legacy, our family values, the things from that early childhood experience that have been ingrained within us. And so Moon in Taurus gives a strong attachment, an emotional connection towards family, towards the family traditions, and towards the desire and need to have a comfortable, stable life and family environment. This can also be someone who loves vehicles, who loves to have that comfort, that luxury, who loves wide open spaces, being out in nature, having a very comfortable home environment. And again, all of these factors are depending upon the nature of the entire chart. But for the most part, this is going to give this strong need and attachment towards having that comfort and stability within life. Now, we also want to consider that there are 3 nakshatras falling within the sign of Taurus. And so this moon can fall into 3 different nakshatras, which will behave entirely different. And so we talked a little bit about this first nakshatra in the previous video, as it started off in the sign of Aries and continues here within the sign of Taurus, and that is Krittika. Krittika is all about dominance. It is a nakshatra that is centered around status, perfection, performance. These are people who are champions, who are warriors, who are able to reach high levels of status and are very much career-oriented, achievement-driven people. They are people who are able to lead, to dominate, to take charge. And so that is very strong there within that Krittika nakshatra. Now, on the Taurus end of that, there is more of a gentler nature than it is within the sign of Aries. However, we still get this determination, this willpower, this dominance to take charge, to lead, to be in control of something. So these are people who are very useful, who are very practical, who have great skill sets, who are very much precise and detailed. And that precision can also speak to the ability to cook or to work with the hands, to do something that involves some sort of precise and analytical skills. Those who are born within the second nakshatra, and again, we'll talk more about this in detail if you have any additional questions. We'll talk about it in a future video where we'll go more in depth into these nakshatras that the moon can fall in. But within the second nakshatra, which is falling within Rohini, this is a great position. This is where the moon actually is getting its true exaltation, is here within the Rohini nakshatra. And so here we especially see this strong need for comfort, for socializing, for feeling at home, for having that luxury, that security. And this can give strong creative talents and a hospitable nature. We see that very strongly within this Rohini nakshatra. This can also give some difficulties in terms of mood swings. And so one of the things here within this nakshatra of Rohini that I've mentioned before in the past is that Rohini is having the sexual type or the animal type of a male serpent. And the snake is regarded as a very mystical and very much clingy, emotionally attached, connected, loyal type of animal. But it is also seen as being vicious at times when triggered, right? If you are being defensive or you are stepping over boundaries with a serpent, it is going to attack. Right? So there's this instinct also on an emotional level where this individual, for the most part, is going to be very calm, very grounded, but if they feel triggered, they may be on that end of snapping on people who are stepping over those boundaries. And so that is where that energy can become very dangerous. For the most part, though, this is giving someone who's very hospitable, someone who is very social, very charming, who knows how to take care of others, to please the needs of others, very strong here within this nakshatra. Now, those who are falling within the last nakshatra of Mrigashira, this is at the tail end of Taurus, and it is trailing into the sign of Gemini. And so those who are born under that particular nakshatra with their moon sign tend to have a very restless and active mind. And so even though these are people who are very grounded, very down to earth, very friendly, there is this activity that is happening in the mind where these people are restless, they're curious, they need their minds to keep going. And so even when these people are resting or asleep, these may be the people who are talking in their sleep or who have an active imagination going. There's a lot of mental energy that is packed here within this Mrigashira nakshatra as it is controlled by Mars. And so we get this restlessness in terms of thinking. These are people who are great at research, who are great at learning, picking up different languages. They are incredibly curious and full of this mental energy to keep exploring and searching for something in life. These are also people who are incredibly charming, just like our last nakshatra of Rohini. This is being represented by the sexual type of a female serpent. So we get this serpent energy once again where there's something very mystical, very enchanting, very charming about those who have this position. They are incredible in terms of socializing and connecting to other people. But on the emotional end, these people can snap at people who are stepping over their boundaries or upsetting them. And so there is a sensitivity with this nakshatra as well, where they can be easily hurt or offended. So this has been my interpretation of what it looks like to have your moon sign in Taurus. And once again, I will go into greater depth about those positions of the moon through the nakshatras in future videos. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. If you are interested in learning more on Vedic astrology, I am in the middle of constructing a simpler and easy to understand course for beginners who are just getting into Vedic astrology. My previous course was very complex. It was very deep. It was about getting into astrology in Vedic astrology and understanding everything in great depth. So I'm actually simplifying everything in this position. For those of you who are new to this channel, who have never met me before, my name is Daquanjones, and if you have any additional questions, anything you'd like to add, anything you want me to bring up in a future video, just leave it down below in the comments and I will get back to you. I want to thank you all so much for joining. I hope you all have a great day and I will see you in the next video.